Topic. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Although I just realized I hit that start button way too soon. Now I got to wait for that to crash out. And I got to bring up the NHB Messenger program. And I said program as in with two M's and an E at the end because I'm feeling fancy tonight. But
And you could pretend like that's British.
yeah, yeah, because program is British if it ends with an ME.
Right.
So, yes. And that's why it's fancy. Oh, and Kristen is dog sitting. So I need to pan myself center because I don't have unless I start panning you right, but I can't pan you right on both feeds because you pan yourself, and YouTube isn't stereo anyway, so it don't matter. So I could pan you, but I don't feel like it. So there, that's easier because I got you in a stereo channel. All right, and we're pan where we want to be, and the messenger program I think is started, and we are encoding. There we
And I
go.
just switched to studio, so that sounds better, right?
Yeah, yeah. There we go. So let's Brian just mere moments ago did a double take and said, "Wait, what?" After I said something, because he just connected because I just got set up because I just finished a wonderful KFC dinner after being out and looking at a bunch of documents. And something happened when I got to the last document, and we're going to talk about that. But
Right. But
first of all, we got to open the show. But what, Brian?
and incidentally, that means our pre-show was about 10 seconds long.
Yes, yes.
Normally, someplace between a half hour and an hour.
So the pre-show is basically, hey, Brian, this is something big I'm springing on you. Wait, what? No, we got to start first now. So,
That's right.
but that's how we roll. That is how we roll here on
Insert title here.
the show that changes names so often. We had to put a placeholder in its place. I'm not sure what we're going for this week because Kristen's not here. So, I mean, I haven't done anything to put myself in time out because I've been too busy tweeting fuck yous to everyone but Dune. Maybe we'll call it tonight's show Fuck You, MBTA, and Comcast. The Fuck You,
There was
MBTA, and
a
Comcast
tweet
show.
that I saw that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a list of a number of things where the word fuck is appropriate.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot. It's a pretty good word.
Such as when Nixon. Never mind.
When
Or
Nixon.
when-
You could put anything
or
in the
when
end of that sentence.
JFK said, "We don't need no fucking parade."
There you go. There you go.
Right? And, I'll just add my own. Lee Harvey Oswald said, "I don't need no fucking automatic."
No, no. Wait, what?
He had a magic bullet, see?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's. Well, the bullet was automatic.
No, it's magic.
Magic, automatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Bolt action, whatever.
Anyways, so I was running late today because, as I talked about in the Dune and Bob show, and as I've been talking about for weeks now, I, decided it was time to start house hunting because I want to get familiar with this process and know what I'm doing. And I didn't expect to find anything because you figure you're probably going to look at like something like 20 houses before you find
Sure.
anything. And I mean, yeah, I had some money put in a savings account. I had a bonus coming up, which I have sent Scott and put in the savings account. I have a tax. I'm probably going to get a tax refund, but I still need to send the papers to my CPA and that all. So that's coming at some point. And I'm still working on putting money in the savings. And so I wasn't quite exactly where I wanted to be, but I was on the path to where I wanted to be. And it's like I want to get familiar with this process and know what I'm doing. So what does it hurt to reach out to someone? What does it hurt to look at a house? You go look at a house. You're not going to like the first house you see. I made sure to not like the first house I see. I picked the biggest steaming pile of crap I could find. I actually Googled houses that are steaming piles of crap. And that's how I ended up at the wonderful house with the antler toilet paper holder and the little shimmy space you got to squeeze through to get to the tub in the one and only bathroom that you walk through one of the 4 bedrooms to get to. So, yeah, that was an adventure. And this guy, cool guy,
Perfect reject.
the perfect
opposite
reject.
of the property brothers when they take to a house, it's double or triple their budget.
Right. Right. Now, this place, someone bought it that is a contractor that's going to flip it. I mean, because this house, it needed
Yeah.
it needed plumbing work, it needed electrical work, it needed a foundation work, it needed. I don't know. I think it just needed to be torn down, to be honest. But so here's
Well, that's why a contractor will get into it because he'll know
right.
what's worth keeping and what's worth
Well, I actually
demolishing.
got to question the competence or the quality of these flippers because we'll get to the house that I was just at instead of doing prep. So fast forward a bit after I found out interesting things about housing markets. So, and I'll go ahead and throw out numbers. The ballpark number I was looking for my budget was I was looking for something at or under 250,000, which a lot of you out there are like, holy fuck. Brian out there is like, well, I think there's a shed in the backyard that you could buy for 250,000 out
Right.
in heck, in Danville, I don't think you could buy a mailbox for 250,000.
Probably
Probably not. No, that
because they know that if you own that mailbox, you're going to send your kids to the Danville schools. You see, that's why they can call for that much
ah,
or even higher.
odd that you picked an area that's got a great school system and you have no kids. And the perfect school
Siri
system.
thinks I'm talking to you. Hi, Siri.
Well, Siri's your kid, right?
Greetings, Brian.
Oh, well, right.
So, anyways, I was looking at house.
Why did that come up? Who the hell knows?
Who knows? Danville and Siri sound so much alike. Mailbox and Siri sound so much
Can't hear
alike.
you,
No, I don't know.
so it's nothing that you said.
You said school system. Maybe that sounds like Siri because that has some
School
S's in it.
system.
I don't know.
Not that time.
Well, moving right along. So I was looking at houses in the town of Brockton, which is south of Boston and is also like the patch on the map where all the cheapest houses are. And I mean, Brockton ain't like Oakland. It's the downtown might have some crime problems, but there are nice areas in the like North End or the West End or the East End of Brockton. And so that basically is the place that people go to buy their first houses.
How many chemical plants are in that town?
That is a question I will start asking if I start looking in there again. But I'm not aware of chemical plants. Some of the neighborhoods I looked at looked like pretty okay neighborhoods, pretty nice neighborhoods actually. It does not look like an area that it looks like an area I would enjoy living in, and it'd be a bit closer, a bit shorter commute. Not a whole lot short of a commute. I mean, there's still the hassle, get yourself to a train, wait for a train, and that stuff. But as I was continuing my look, the daily listings that was coming into my mailbox would also include at the end, well, here are some listings for other towns near the same area. And I noticed a small, tiny house showed up in Attleboro that's right around the corner from where I live. And I was like, hey, the real estate agent we're working with, he lives in Attleboro. We could walk 5 minutes around the corner to this house. Why don't we ask him if we could look at that house? Because he don't mind, popping in there on his way home after work, and we just walk around the corner. And he was like, yeah, that's perfect. That's great. Yeah, sure. 6 o'clock tonight, let's take a walk over. Let's do it. And we didn't particularly fall in love with this place. It was a bit cramped. The way it was laid out was a little awkward. It had a big backyard with a fire pit already there. It had a basement that had temporary supports that you kind of jack up on the top, holding the house up. It had rhinestones and stickers and an awful paint job on the upstairs bedrooms, so those would need to be redone. There were a few holes in the walls, but all in all, it had good bones. It came with appliances, and it would not have been a bad deal. But Kristen wasn't particularly in love with it, and to be honest, I wasn't quite in love with the floor plan. It didn't come with much in the way of storage. My big thing was that basement had no room to store stuff. That basement was there for a furnace and a hot water heater, and maybe you could put a washer and dryer there somewhere. But it was difficult to get to, a very narrow, steep stairwell, and no room for me to put shelves up. So I would have still been cramped. But that got me looking in Attleboro. And here's the weird thing about Attleboro. Attleboro is more of a second house town. You know, you get your starter house in Brockton, and then if you build up, a bit, you sell that house, and you buy a second house at a more expensive price point in Attleboro. Now, because of that, houses that are in the cheaper price point that I'm looking for don't sell for as much in Attleboro as they sell in Brockton. Because first-time homeowners aren't looking for those houses in Attleboro. They're looking for those houses in Brockton, and they're bidding each other up there. Meanwhile, down here in Attleboro, people are looking for more expensive houses. So you can get better deals on the cheaper houses in Attleboro. It seems completely illogical to me. But, yeah, it is easier to get a good deal on a cheap house in Attleboro. Is this surprising to you, Brian, or is this like, oh, yeah, housing markets work like that?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's talk about the concept of first house, second house, blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
right,
Okay, first of all, you're not having any kids, right?
right.
At least that's the plan.
We are not having any kids.
So first house, second house, blah, 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 usually means that you're going to expand your family, whatever.
Well, it also could mean that...
but the other side of it is that those are inventions by realtor agents, because that's how they make money. Because they make commission on the buy and the sell. So if you just have one transaction and you buy the house that you really want, then you're paying him once.
It's not completely an invention,
But
though, Brian.
Oh, sure it is. Sure
No,
it is.
I'm
But
going to dispute
you're not
you on
growing
this.
your family. You see, my first house I happened to be in for 8 years. We only left because we moved from Colorado.
Well, here's the thing. If you are expanding your family, though, you will want to get a bigger house down the road. And also...
But that's not for you.
Well,
that's why that first question came up.
Oh, okay. Well, if the first house I looked in Attleboro was really small and had some things not working for it, but it was a good deal. That's the type of place I could see if I bought it in like 3 to 5 years. I would have, built up some more equity. I'd have more money there. I might try see if it's gone up in value any. I might try to flip that and get me something bigger. A stepping stone.
That would be putting your foot in the door, shall we say?
Right.
And that can make sense.
Okay? Right. So first house, second house totally makes sense.
We're having a conversation, not an argument.
Right.
And I'm asking these questions to draw out your reasoning.
Well,
that's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that. But also the idea of flipping a house usually means that you intend to make an improvement. Have you bought your next tool yet? I mean, we got you into that power drill.
I do own a saw.
Like a circular saw or what?
Voompa.
Oh, a handsaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I needed that to saw the box spring in half to get it up the stairwell here.
Oh,
so, yeah. So that was trying to think about. Oh, I bought a soldering iron a few weeks ago.
Holy man! Really?
Wow. Really?
Of course, the soldering iron's not going to do very much in home improvement.
Well, if I want to put my name on the walls, you see.
That's probably not a selling point. Unless, of course, you're going to sign Abraham Lincoln.
It's a selling point if I want to sell to someone else also named Jonathan.
Right, right.
Okay. So, anyways, but that's the way the housing market works in these towns.
Sure.
Brockton, it's very competitive for the starter homes.
Well,
Attleboro,
again, the realtor will tell you that you're usually not in a house for more than 5 years. Again, because they love to collect commissions.
oh, you know what? We weren't even having those conversations about how long or whatever, But he's just telling me what he knows about these markets, and that's what he's telling. No, I could take it with a grain of salt. Maybe he's
you
tried
know how long I've been in this house?
Long.
Excluding the time, well,
that
ignoring the time that we were in Singapore because we didn't.
You still owned it.
We just rented out for that time.
Right.
We've been in the house for 20 years.
No, you've owned it for 20 years, or you've been in it for 20 years.
Well, we've owned it for 20 years.
So you got to take like
So
what,
including the 2
3, yeah.
2 years that we rented it while we were in Singapore.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. Well, I mean, the house I was looking at here in Attleboro, there was another house in Attleboro that was a little more expensive, but a little more square footage, had a more open basement. The first floor was this completely open floor plan. You basically had, it was set up so that you had like a living room area, dining room area, a kitchen area, and the kitchen area, and the one and only bathroom next to the kitchen.
So how old is this structure?
1938.
And it's been renovated, I take it?
Well, if you mean, they put some nice paint on it, made it look pretty, and it's got a new roof. The power was updated at some point between now and 1938, and the plumbing looks okay. Windows are new.
But you also said open concept.
Right.
A 1930s house would not be open concept normally.
Well, I don't know what's happened between now and 1938, but I know it was bought.
But the kitchen is open to the dining room and the living
the
room.
whole downstairs is pretty open.
Does it look like original floor?
No.
Okay.
The upstairs has 4 bedrooms, and they all have pull string light fixtures, but new paint job. Basically, someone bought it to flip it, and so it looked like we could make this work. We'd be comfortable here, and so we were actually at the point where it's like, well, I think we could make an offer on this. And I was doing the math, and I didn't have as much time as I was planning on having to save, but I have enough saved that I could make an offer, and I could make this work. So, I talked to a finance guy. He did a little yippee dance for joy when he saw my credit score, and pretty much told me that he will give me as much as I want. No, that's not exactly what he said. He's
well, you could go for that beach house that I tweeted you a few days ago.
No, I'm going to pass on that.
You don't like the waves crashing over the house, then?
Well, I mean, some people would call that a feature.
Exactly.
It comes with its own waterfall.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes it's falling up.
Would you like to be close to the ocean? I don't think you get much closer than this.
Right. We that's why the place that we have by the ocean isn't that close, because we don't want to have a house that's like that.
Yeah. Now
it's nice to be right next to the ocean, but.
Now throughout this process, we talked about different things and different fees and the financing and things like that, and I was taking it in. And so now we got to the point where I'm a pre-approved for a loan. This house is still on the market, and we like it, and we wouldn't mind buying it. And I talked to the landlord, and they said, we're okay with you leaving before the lease is over if this works out. And so the real estate agent said, let's be at the house tonight, and we got some paperwork for you to sign. So then he's asking me, well, do you have your checkbook with you? Which, yes, I do. Okay, well, we need $1,000 deposit in case you decide to back out of it tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, but I'm allowed to back out of it if something comes back in the inspection I don't like. He's like, oh, yeah, you could back out of it. And I'm like, but an offer's legally binding, right? He goes, yes. I'm like, but does that mean legally binding as in I need to have a justifiable reason to back out of it? Oh, no, you don't have to have a reason. I'm like, then how is it legally binding? And if I back out of it, I'm out the $1,000. Oh, no. If you don't like something on there, on that home inspection, you get the $1,000 back. I'm like, well, what's have you ever had someone lose their deposit? Oh yeah. Well, what it is if you have a 10-day period to do all your inspections and things like that and whatever you want to do. And if you back out after that 10-day period, you lose your $1,000 deposit.
Okay.
So
But also, if you start the process of getting the loan and you hand them money, chances are you won't get any of that back.
yeah, well, that would be the I'd have to sit down with the loan and finance guy next once they accept the offer. I mean, he
Right.
pre-approved me, but that was just pre-approval. You know, we still have to.
That
I still have
just
to,
means that you're qualified to buy the place. Yeah.
Right. So that would be a whole other thing. And then he start talking about, and my first offer was offer the asking price, but they pay the closing fees because I'm throwing my savings and my cash at the down payment. And then he goes, well, the home inspection, that's $500. And I'm like, okay, is that part of the closing fee? No, that's not. I'm like,
Oh, everything's separate.
so I got to come up with $500 for that. Okay, all right, maybe we could. And then, well, the appraisal, and you got to do the appraisal, and it's got to appraise for the value, or else you got to work that out. I'm like, and well, that's $500 that you got to pay. Okay, now that's $1,000, and then there's like this these other fees start coming up, and I'm like, well, how come this is the first night I'm hearing about these fees? He goes, well, that's not really my end of things. That's, I'm like, no, I'm not trying to blame you, but, and I kind of realized I was doing a lot of thinking about where this money's going to come from and balancing things in my head, and I realized I did this too soon. I'm putting myself in a position that if I take this deal, I'm going to put myself in a position of being one paycheck away from disaster. And that is just not a responsible decision to make when you're taking on a new home. Not to mention, you're always going to have different expenses and things coming up moving into a home. And those little things add up. It's like, no, I don't have enough padding. I took this on too soon. I need to put more money away. But I learned a whole lot about the process. And
Well, did you get all the bank fees listed?
I've not gotten all those fees listed, but those would be closing costs.
Yeah, usually they roll all that into a loan. But,
Well,
the
the
one
closing
thing you'll get is a loan origination fee.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be part of it.
Well, the closing costs, I was asking the seller to pay, although we could roll that into
Well,
the
but the loan
mortgage.
origination fee is you're paying the bank. They won't have anything to do with that.
That's not part of the closing costs?
No.
Then
Not
what
usually.
are even the closing costs? I keep hearing about this cost, this cost, this cost. When do we actually even get to the... See, yeah, the point is that they nickel and dime the hell out of this process.
Exactly. And you just have to, like you say, you have to be prepared for it.
It's like, I'm trying to give my money to you to buy this house, but you keep on getting in the way of that by taking other money first. I'm not going to have any money left to give you for the house if you keep taking my money before I can give you money for the house.
I bet you could probably Google a sample closing paperwork.
Mm.
Of course, the average person won't put that online, but I'm sure a bank will have a sample of the closing, and you'll see all of these fees, and your eyes will rotate around your head, and your head will spin. You'll look like an owl.
Well, basically, after I came back we got to the last piece of paperwork, and I was like thinking to myself, oh my God, this guy is going to kill me. He's took me out to see all these houses. He's met with me in these hours. He explained all these papers to me. He got my initials and signatures on all these papers, and then we get to the last paper where here's the offer that we are submitting, and I'm like, no. And it's like, I asked him, I'm like, you gotta be like, just having like the worst day right now, because you got right to that, point there where the signature and no, and he's like, oh man, that's cool. It's I sell plenty of houses all year round. I'm more interested in providing the right service for the customer. Than I'm like, he's saying all the things that I would say, but in my head, I'd be going, motherfucker,
Well, I'm sure that you wouldn't be the first client that he came across that freaked out.
Mm.
He knows you're a first-time buyer.
Yeah.
And so, maybe you just have to kind of go through it with him again.
Yeah. I told him, give me.
He should be there for you if he's a decent guy, which sounds like he is.
Yeah. I told him, give me 4 to 5 months, because the lease is up October, and I've already tipped off the landlords that I'm thinking about getting out of here. So I don't know what to expect for the next lease renewal. But I pretty much told them that I'm slowing down right now. This didn't work out. I intend to stay out the rest of my lease. And if I stay past October, I will intend to go month to month, but we can have a conversation about that when we get closer to there. Right. And hopefully they won't come back and say, nope, you said you're out by May, get out. I don't expect they'll say that, because I don't think we did anything that's legally binding as far as canceling the lease. I just asked if I could, and they said yes. I didn't. I don't think there's anything binding there.
Are they going to charge you anything for canceling the lease?
No.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
I basically told them, look, I already paid you.
It's like being on a lease and going month to month at the same time.
Yeah, knowing that they're cool. Well, they've always been. Well, what sense would it make for them to keep me in here against my will when I'm going to leave eventually anyways?
You sign a piece of paper so that you're going to be there for a year.
Right. But...
So they could charge you an early exit fee if that's in the lease.
Well, that's not what I'm doing, though. I'm not going to pay an early exit fee. I'm going to back out of the deal and stay in the apartment till the lease is up and then move out. The only thing they would do by saying no is postpone the inevitable. They're still going to have to find a new tenant. It's just that they'll have to find a new tenant for October 1st instead of May 1st. So basically I asked them, I said, look, could I, we're making an offer in a house. If this goes as planned, I'd like, my last month rent that I pay when I moved in to be applied to April. And, I'll be accommodating. You want to show this place to other potential tenants,
Well, but they're being nice guys about it. And
I was nice about it. I was nice and up front. And they were nice about it
by saying, yeah, we'll do it that way.
Yeah. So
because some would say, okay, so you threw that deposit out of 1 month's rent, but that'll be applied because you're terminating early.
Right. Well, they could have.
You're going to pay for that extra month after you've gone, shall we say?
Well, yeah, they could have said pay for it for May. Well, yeah. Well, heck, if I moved fast, I probably could have been moved into this house before the end of March.
That would be unbelievably fast.
Closing
less than a month is pretty unusual.
That's what they were talking.
Yeah. I mean, they could do it. Banks don't like anything less than 3 weeks, for example.
I don't know. The way they were talking that we could make, we could close before the end of the month.
Was that the bank or the realtor?
The realtor.
I would go with what your bank. I would go with your bank.
I was talking with the realtor's finance guy, who I talked to him. I checked him out. He's saying good things. He's offering fair rates. I was actually going to go that route and go with his finance guy because I liked how he was explaining things and how he was breaking it down. And he pretty much also felt that we could make this work.
Okay, that's cool.
So
but still, end of March at the could it happen? Yeah, it could happen.
Right, but then moving everything. I mean, yeah. So I could have been out of here by the end of March, which would have put me in the awkward position of, well, but I want the rent you just took out of my account back. Yeah, there's no way that's going for that. So I pretty much was like, let's let this overlap.
Oops, did you turn on Skype?
Yeah, Skype is up. Skype is absolutely up.
Hey, Venison, what the hell are you talking about? He tweeted me, tell you to turn Spice. Ha! Tell Skype on.
Well, you know,
There he is.
Skype never works right, so we'll call him.
It's stinging now.
Well, yeah, but that's because I'm calling him.
Oh, you're calling him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hey.
Now it's on.
speaking of people selling houses,
Uh,
well,
there we go.
here is the
Turning
big
that down.
here's the big thing that caught me by surprise, which was another reason I was looking to possibly back out or have time to think about this. A big question that I didn't ask when I was looking at this house that Seth tipped me off that I should be asking. Seth said, ask about the insulation of the house. Because you remember I lived in a trailer up in Maine.
Yeah.
And that trailer was built in the 70s. It was insulated. We heated it. And we were parked behind Grammy's house, which was about the same square footage as the trailer, which was not insulated. The heating bill for Grammy's house was 3 times the heating bill for the trailer.
Sure.
Damn.
And a lot of old houses were not insulated, so
Right, and
that's
this house
a good question.
and this house was built in 1938. Did anyone ever rip out the walls and insulate this place over the course of time?
But also, a good home inspection would check for insulation.
Right. And he
It
kind
would
of
check for the quality of the roof. How old is the roof? That's a great question.
it's a new roof.
How about asbestos? That's a great question.
There was an asbestos roof put in 1977, but it's a new roof now, and they stripped the old roof.
Sometimes popcorn ceilings are asbestos.
This,
Sometimes they're not.
yeah. Anyways, well, one thing is that yeah, the house inspection would have said if there was insulation or not, but then they come back and say no, which is highly likely. Then I either walk away being out $500 or take this on and deal with high heating bills or a major project. So that's another thing that started me feeling iffy about going into this. And I asked him about, insulation and that, and he goes, most people don't even think about that. They don't ask that. I don't get asked that very much, but people just buy the houses. They floor plan, square footage, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing. They don't even think about the insulation. And I'm like, yeah, well, they should be. They're stupid. I mean, that's a big chunk of your budget is your heating bill. And that, is really going to set. I mean, that could make your bill 3 times as much.
Especially if below zero.
Sure. So maybe the other thing, if you want to avoid that problem, is buy a newer house, something that's say 20 years old or newer.
Well, yeah. Either I got to find a newer house, which is a lot of old houses in these areas, or the other thing I'm thinking is a possibility is you buy a fixer-upper for cheaper, you get a construction loan with it, and you have insulation put in with the construction that you do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, you're talking about closing costs and all like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easily looked up. In fact, here it says typically home buyers will pay between about 2 to 5% of the purchase price of their home in closing fees.
Yes.
So if your home costs $150,000, you might pay between $3,000 and $7,500 in closing costs. On average, buyers pay roughly $3,700 in closing fees, according to a recent survey.
Well, that's the closing fees. We're talking about the other fees in addition to the closing fees.
That's but I just decided, to give
some
you
of
the
them
closing
will
cost.
be. You're talking about the seller's closing cost coverage.
Right.
Some of that will be covered by him.
Right. Well,
But possibly not everything.
Well, my offer was for him to cover the closing costs, which we put in at about $5,000.
Right.
Now, he might have come back and said, no, I'm not taking that offer. You pay the closing costs, in which case we start to have to pack that in with the mortgage. But these were things that were not covered by the closing costs. And that's where I was like, wait, in addition to the closing costs, which I'm hoping to not worry about, There's, I got to pay for the inspection. I got to pay for the appraisal. I'm like, but isn't this part of the closing process? Isn't that part of what? Where's that $5,000 going, if not towards these things? Not to mention,
Right, but also most of that would be rolled into the loan. So when you
no, he was
go
not
to
talking
pick up
about
the keys. Hang on.
No.
You pick up the keys. There'll be all the paperwork. You got the check of the amount of the down payment, and that's all you're paying.
He wasn't talking
Everything
about.
else is in the loan.
No, that was not how this was
Subtracting
being
off
put.
What the
No,
seller is putting into it.
that was not included in the number that we put down on the paper for the loan.
Right.
That was not a part of
Okay.
that.
Okay. Yeah,
Now, I guess I probably could have.
Good work it through, but you can have it structured so that you come up with your down payment and your signature.
Well, basically,
and they hand you the key.
This is a conversation I need to have with the finance guy.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
And he's
Absolutely.
probably he actually reached out to me like, hey, why don't we get on the phone tomorrow? Because I think he wants to save this. And
Sure.
I have a feeling if I talk to him, he could probably turn this into, look, you bring the down payment, everything else will be taken care of for a price. And that's...
Well, see, they can write it in the loan. That means you'll be paying that extra amount over time with everything else. With the principal.
Right, yeah.
But
But
it essentially becomes part of the principal.
I really think that I did the right thing backing out of this right now. It started becoming too much, too soon, too fast, and it was time. It was time to abort.
Number one question: do you like the house?
Yeah, I'm not like crying over it.
Yeah, I mean, there's in buying a house, there's always some kind of compromise. Ooh, I wanted this. Oh, but I get this. Oh, right. Oh, that's not so good.
Wow.
And insulation, the question of insulation is one of those, oh, that may not be so good.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
it is.
what is the household wiring like? Do they have
the
an old-fashioned fuse box? Or do
no,
they
no,
have
no.
circuit breakers?
It's upgraded. It's an upgraded electric. It's not old. That's updated. It's not brand new, but it's updated. The house had the only real compromises I saw in the house is it is a smaller house, but it is the size we were looking for, and it might not be insulated, and and it didn't have a yard.
Oh, no yard at all.
Like maybe 2 feet.
But that was your exercise program. Get that lawnmower and push it around the yard.
No.
No. How big is the driveway?
I could probably fit 2 or 3 cars in there.
And so, in the garage, is there a garage?
No garage.
So just a driveway.
Yeah.
And so you've got 2 cars plus some space to the street.
I could probably do street parking. Yeah. It was a little.
Well, no. As part of the driveway, you're saying length of the cars of 2 cars.
Well, I might
plus
be
a gap between the street and that second car.
Yeah.
Tandem parking, one in front of the other.
Yeah. Well, I might be able to make side by side work. I haven't tried it yet, though.
Cars.
Use a little bit of lawn.
So you don't have a lot of shovel area to shovel snow off of.
I don't know. It would. I'd have to shovel snow, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, just a small amount. Yeah. Okay.
Venison, you were starting to say something. And we lost him.
Oh, crap.
Meanwhile, what were we going to talk about? So that just got to be too much. Oh, and we hear Venison again.
Hello, Venison.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do you know how many fees you have to pay?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to the finance guy, but I've already...
According to this site I'm looking at, there are about 12 of them.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I found out about 11 so far, so there's one last surprise for the next time I do this.
What the fuck is going on here?
All right, I think we...
Yeah, private mortgage insurance.
Well, yeah, but I was aware of that.
Homeowners insurance.
Yep.
Scroll. Title insurance.
Okay.
Appraisal fees.
This is turning into a very boring list right now, Venison, and we covered most of this. So
escrow fees.
Why don't we talk about something that's more
to
your
make sure you
speed?
got all of them. And something about this webpage is really.
So I went to a radio
points
show.
Of origin.
So I went to a radio show or convention or swap meet thing this past weekend to find me my first radio restoration project. And the question is...
That you're going to do.
Yes.
You're going to get the soldering iron out.
Yes. And I'm going to electrocute myself.
Wow.
And someone else will have to take over the project after the funeral.
That's why I really dragged my shit down. Holy shit.
So, the question is, how many radios did I walk away from this thing with? And we'll let Venison go first.
Wait, what? Wait, say that? You say what now?
How many radios did I walk away with from my experience at the swap meet?
3.
Oh, God. 7.
No, 4.
4. Oh!
One of them was...
I take it they're all tube radios.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of them...
Great American 5s?
I do have some. I don't know how to identify what is an All-American 5 and what is more advanced than that. But, all right, so here's what I did. The thing went from 8 to 1. So I got there, and I'm walking around, and I'm overwhelmed because I'm surrounded by radios. And I don't know what speaks to me, and I don't know what's worth what. And some things have prices on them, some things don't. And no one's engaging in conversation with me, really. But I did find someone that had a box of some 78s, and I pulled a few 78s out of there, and he's like, $2 for those. And he goes, where are you here from? And I told him, Attleboro, Massachusetts. Like, oh, yeah, out in Seekonk or Swansea, or someplace nearby this area. We got a we got a phonograph club. What do you play them on? And, I told him about some of my turntables. I was like, oh yeah, you got to come out to the. And he told me the name of the group. I forget it. I got to Google it and find it. But they have some meetings about phonograph stuff in the area there. Like, you should come check it out. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and someone had a wire recorder on his table. Like the thing had, it was like a reel-to-reel, but you had a spool of wire that you threaded, wire recorder. And he's like, hey, make me an offer on it. What do you offer? It's going to charity, whatever. You just, I probably could have gotten a good deal on it, but I'm like, what am I going to do with that thing? I'm not going to do anything with that thing. I'm gonna test it out, find out it sounds like shit, and be like, hey, look, it's cool. I have no practical reason to have a wire recorder, but it was cool. It was cool.
But you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I got my limits.
You get 4 of them and you get quad.
Have you heard what a wire recorder sounds like?
No, do you have a sample?
Let's find one. Let's see what we can find on YouTube. I don't recall it sounding good when I've heard what they sound like. That's all I can tell you. I don't recall them sounding very good. Here we go. Techmoan did an episode about wire recorders. You ever watch Techmoan's YouTube channel? This guy's great.
No.
You're gonna.
It's been a while since I've looked at some retro tech, so I've pulled the old time machine out and turned the dials all the way to the past, and it's bringing us something from over 60 years ago. Let's see what it is. The machine that you're looking at, and indeed listening to, is a Webster Chicago wire recorder. Now, whilst wire recorders are largely forgotten about nowadays, they did have a brief heyday which peaked in the late 1940s. So in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the history of the technology, how the machines themselves work, as well as finding out why they died out so quickly. So without any further ado, let's get on with the rest of the video.
So that's
a wire recorder, as the name suggests, really does record onto a piece of wire.
So you get the idea. That was
why it felt popularity, because reel-to-reel tape came out.
Yeah.
Or magnetic tape, yeah.
Yeah.
By Ampec. Right?
Right.
Or Ampex.
Ampex. So yeah, I didn't. So I was walking around, kind of overwhelmed. But some people had records. I was looking at some of those. Bought some 45s, and Seth didn't show up till like 11ish. No, 10ish. So around 10 o'clock he got there. And we walked around a bit again. Every time I walked around, I saw stuff I did. Someone had a Commodore 64 with floppy drive. With not an original monitor, but a vintage monitor that has a good reputation that apparently the guy who was selling
Still
me
works?
assured me. Yeah. And the whole package he was selling for $200. And he led up to that $200 by talking about the eBay prices he saw and all that. And so he was like offering a deal on this. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'd rather
When
find
the guy
one.
said eBay prices, did you say, you mean of items sold?
Oh, they'll sell for
Or
that.
just listed?
He lists this on eBay. He'll get $200.
Okay.
Commodore 64s really have a value.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. Vintage gaming is in.
Yeah.
It's a hot market right now for vintage gaming.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was cool. And we're walking around looking at things, and I noticed that even as soon as between 10 and 11. Now, mind you, the thing went from 8 to 1. There was a $10 admission fee, but at 11 o'clock you get in it free. You get in for free. So even approaching 11 o'clock, there are people packing up tables. There are prices coming down. And that's when you kind of get the whole, I see how this works. So it was probably a good thing that I took my time looking, because part of me was seeing radios walk out the door, and I'm like, if I don't start buying something, there's not going to be anything left here to buy. Oh, no. There was plenty to buy. At some point, I saw this great, I don't have it in the room here with me because it's a bit bulky, but this turntable that was plugged in and powered on with the platter rotating with a big sign on it that said free. And I was like, that's free? That's free. Sold. And yeah, and it's got an AM radio in it too. It's the type of thing that you close the lid and latches up, and it's got a handle. It's the type of thing that takes steel needles.
So, portable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A portable 78 player that takes steel needles, but I don't think it runs on a battery. But that probably needs.
And it's more advanced than a crank.
Yeah. No, it's a tube radio. It's AM and phonograph, steel needles. So yeah, that I just kind of took for since it was free and it's a phonograph, and I'm like, hey, if anything, I can see what I can do with it. But that's not a starter project. But okay, we're looking at it. So I finally start going, okay, it's time to find my project. So I get to a table. Now the thing is that a lot of people don't want to buy something that's a project, don't want to buy something that doesn't work. So a lot of people bring their working radios with them. I mean, there were some tables that had some beautiful restored radios. And there was some people that had their radios that they fixed them up enough that they work. But they're not restored, but they work. Yeah, so I was talking.
A crab net could be crappy looking.
Well, no, I mean,
less.
it wasn't crappy looking. They were good
But it wasn't
looking.
restored to be nice looking. Let's put it that way.
No, they didn't change every capacitor. They just fixed it up enough to turn on and work. But something else, yeah.
So electronically it wasn't fully restored.
Right,
Gotcha.
right.
I thought you meant
they
cosmetic.
troubleshoot the problems. They get it working. Your basic cheap work, make it work. Which was probably fine back in the day, but nowadays any radios of 30s and 40s vintage, you probably should just do a full restore on them. And
Yes, as the capacitors will be shot nearly.
I feel,
yeah.
and I
My
felt
poor
like
Scott.
I felt like I didn't want a partially done radio for my first project. I really want my first project to be here's something that don't turn on, and make it work. So this one guy I talked to, he's like, well, these radios here work. This radio is a project radio. I mean, I found this in the trash. It's and it's got a $20 price tag on it. You can't go. It's only $20. I'm like, is this a good first time project though? I mean, I was told I should start with an All American 5, and he's like, well, one of these might be an All American 5. I'm like, yeah, but they work. Well, they're not restored, but they work. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this one. He's like, well, and I'll show it to you. because he did lower it to 15, and I was like, all right, for 15, I'll buy this thing. Maybe it won't be my first project, but it could be a project. And obviously, if I really want to restore it to really look nice, I'm going to need to get into woodwork as well. But I can worry about the innards to start with. It's a nice AM radio, wooden cabinet with push buttons, and yeah, the push buttons don't exactly hold down anymore, but I could work on that. So yeah, this is a project that I could take on at some point. You know, but that's not necessarily my first project. So I got that for 15. So I walked around. I found an old guy with a table with a lot of radios on there that were looking like, you know, they were not fixed up to be pristine and restored. So I'm chatting up the guy. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a good first-time project. You know, a good radio to restore for a first time. I'm told an All-American 5 would be a good starting point. So he's kind of looking at this, looking at that. And he goes, here you go. This right here is what you want.
Sweet. Is that plastic?
Bakelite.
Bakelite, yeah.
Yeah. And it had a, what did it have? It had a $45 price tag on it. And so I said to him, well, would you take $35 for it? And he said, at this point, yes. Yes, I will. And so I'm like,
$35?
$35.
Woohoo.
And I got this. He doesn't know if it turns on or anything. I'm not going to plug it in just yet. There's processes to go through to test these things. Although I got to figure out how to take it apart. Because I figured out how to take the back off, but I haven't gotten the knobs to slide off easily so that I can slide the whole thing out of the case. But that's not a bad looking table radio there. You know, a little
nice.
Kitchen radio.
Is there any kind of date on it? Do you know when it's from? 50s maybe?
I don't know, actually. I don't see a date on this one. I will have to do some research on that. But it should be a I asked for an All-American 5, so I assume that he handed me an All-American 5. But anyways, so yeah, those are my first 3 acquired radios at this event. And I was like, and then Seth and I went out to grab some lunch. And, you know, after we're done with lunch, we're heading back to the parking lot to transfer stuff into my car and to get ready to go. And we got back there right around 12:30-ish. And I was like, hey, you know what? I wonder what this place looks like when they're closing down near the end of it. Because, I mean, if things were being packed up and prices were coming down and people were trying to get rid of things that they don't have to carry, if I want to get one last deal, hey, I still got cash in my pocket. So, you know, one last deal. Let's go in and let's take one more walk around, just see if I can find... Because these were not ones that I was drawn to. These are ones that make sense as projects and that I like, but I wasn't really drawn to it. I mean... you know, there was some... I found myself drawn to some of the green-colored ones, that ugly green color of the time. And, but I was walking around. I was looking at things, see if I could find something that speaks to me. Most of the things that speak to me had expensive price tags on them or were restored or, you know, or had expensive price tags on them and weren't restored. Not something I was really ready to take on yet. And so I went back to the table where I got that Bakelite radio. And he had a lot of stuff around there. And I saw this green portable thing. And it's an RCA Victor. And it's portable. And the back comes off. And there's a power cord in there so you can plug it in. But there's also wires that for a battery pack. And actually, I looked at some pictures of this. And I figured out what it is. This here is the connector for the battery pack. And I believe these wires are supposed to connect to this connector. So that's got to be dealt with. Also, the wires that connect to the speaker are no longer connected to the speaker. So yeah, this had a what did it have? It had he offered it to me for $25, and I'm like, There's no way I'm taking the first number in the last half hour at a swap meet. So he's like $25, and I said, well, would you do 15? And he said, no. And I was a little taken aback that, because normally, here's how haggling works. This is 25. Will you take 15? Can you do 20? Deal. I mean, that's right. That's the dance, right?
Right.
But we want 25, 15. No. Worth more than that. I'm sorry, I don't know the value of these things. I don't know.
So then did you go up to 18?
I stood around. I looked at it a little more. I looked at some other radios. I looked at it again, and he said, I'll do 20. I waited for him to do his line. It's like,
oh, okay.
It's like, come on.
He came up with the offer.
I hem and hawed until he came up with the offer, but it took him a little while.
That's probably a good strategy.
Yeah.
Because if you threw out a different number, then he says, I gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, he gave
could
up.
have pushed for 22.
I was taken aback at his no, that he didn't counteroffer. That, like it was almost like he was offended that I would only offer $15 for this radio. And, I just kind of played it cool, like, hey, it's okay. Hey, look, I don't know what these things are worth. I'm new here,
And you said that, right?
Well, I said I don't know. I implied that. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know. He's like, it's worth more than that. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know, but I was still looking at his stuff, and that's when he was like...
So you had to give him time to cool off.
Right,
and then come up with a number.
I didn't want to insult him again. So if I start saying, well, will you take 20, he could start to... So I just played it cool, like maybe I'm there thinking, like, do I pay the 25? I mean, it's green, but what else do I really know or care about? Well, then I started asking him, has it been tested? Do you know if it's in working order or anything or not? And he opened up the back, and there's all the detached wires there. So I think that kind of cooled him down to like this has got some, but then
issues to work out.
Yeah, this is certainly a project.
Now, have you gone in to look up schematics for any of these?
Not yet, but I got to do that.
Type of thing you'd see online, probably.
Probably.
Okay. Or does any of them have a schematic inside the back?
Many of them do have some charts, but they're more information about the tubes and where they are. I don't think they're full schematics.
Yes. That varies a lot. I mean, sometimes you'll see the full schematic. Holy crap. They gave me the value for that capacitor or the resistor.
So, yeah, I'm going to... I guess I'm going to... I guess I'll start with the Bakelite one. Get that apart. And I need to do some reading. Basically, what is the step-by-step process to restoring a radio like this? I believe there's some tests that you do that involve a light bulb and things like that. So I'll get... Now, the guy told me when he sold me the Bakelite radio, you'll spend more time cleaning this than you will fixing it up. I'm not so sure that that's true, though. I expect someone that knows what they're doing will spend more time cleaning it up than restoring it, but I don't know what the
Well, but you've got loose wires, so there'll be something you got to work on.
Yeah, well, that's this one. The other one I don't think's got loose. Yeah. But this one I know where the loose wires is the easiest thing. There are 2 wires that go to the speaker, and there's 3 wires that go to the battery pack connector, which I don't even know that I want to hook that connector back up because I don't know where to buy a battery that uses that type of connector. I'll probably want to wire that to some kind of a modern holster that will hold some D cells.
Yes, any guess what the voltage is?
I can look that up, figure that out.
Yeah, so maybe use some old dry cell.
Right.
I could just use D cells or something like that.
Right. It probably used a pack
or even a little AA battery. AA battery and wire that in.
Whatever voltage it needs.
Battery holder.
Maybe I'll make it run off of C cells. That's a good compromise or something like that. I mean, AA's I don't think it's going to power it for long.
Well,
I mean, it's just well, I don't know. I mean, it's not like this is the most efficient radio. It is an old tube radio. I probably do want to put D cells in here, actually. But yeah,
as long as there's the space for it.
I could make that work.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'd probably want to change that connector out for a D cell battery holster.
And you can probably find
Running
that
a-
stuff on eBay anyway. Now, do
Running
you
a
have
tube
a
radio
multimeter?
off of batteries, that's going to be great.
What's that?
What's
I said running a tube radio off of D-cell batteries.
well, it
That
was
might last all about 20 minutes.
it was designed to run off of a battery pack, which basically was made up of D cells contained in a battery pack or something to that effect. So it's not like I'm using this. Heck, today's D cells are probably a better longevity than the battery packs of the day that this thing ran on.
Oh, so apparently the guy that invented the modern transistor radio that has the crank,
Okay.
you know, for emergencies, apparently that guy just passed away. But that's newer technology. So
Yeah.
he's got rechargeable batteries and a little generator that the crank.
Someone didn't get
runs.
there to crank him back up in time, and
Yeah, right. That's right. They should have just, give him the juice.
There you go. So now then,
Well,
venison.
maybe that's what you do is you convert this thing to run off a crank.
Yeah, no,
Kind of mix the new and the old.
no,
No.
no, no. I'm not putting a crank on this.
Okay, venison.
But it does have a rotating antenna.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So venison.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last thing. I already told Venison about this, but I found something just for Venison at the radio show. I don't forget my friends. And this is one of those situations where I had to buy the whole thing just to get the one thing. Because there was this cassette holder at one of the guys' tables. And I just wanted to buy one item out of there. And he's like, why don't you just take the whole thing for $10? It's like, but I don't want
Good
the whole
sales.
thing.
It's good sales guy. Well, let's open up the case. Let's see.
Well, it's got Billy Joel Stormfront.
Oh no, let's show the inside of the case.
Well, if you do that, you'll
something
ruin.
like that.
If you do that, you'll ruin the surprise.
Well, no. See, you can't see the labels on the tapes because he just. cut
Oh
it off the thing.
no.
And the case holds 16 tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I bought it was I wanted to buy a little gift for Venison because we all know what Venison's blank cassette tape of choice is. He has gone on at great length about the TDK essays. And
Sweet.
there were
Yeah.
Two of them.
sealed. I was going to buy one of these for like $1 and be like, hey, here you go, throw it in with the laptop as a surprise, but I had to buy the whole box, so he gets 2 of them.
Sweet.
Yay!
You don't want to keep one for yourself?
Oh no, I'm a Max.
No,
Cell.
he got his max cells.
I'm a Max Cell guy
okay,
myself.
Okay.
I always bought the
And
Max
you're going to keep
Cells.
the case, so you're happy too.
I'll probably throw it out at some point.
Oh
Max
man!
Even
That's a
though the
close
Max Cells-
collectible.
Even though the max cell is a little heavy in the mid range, but that's okay.
Yeah, like
But
I'm
what
going to use them.
what are the other
The other
what
tapes?
are the other tapes that are in the case?
Well, let's see. We got Billy Joel Stormfront.
Sweet.
We didn't fart, you liar. You know that one. Let's see. We got the wit and wisdom of Will Rogers in his own voice.
And he's dead. Maybe that was done on a wire recorder.
It could have been, but it's a 2-tape set. So,
He has something to talk about.
yeah. And we got 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Elvis's Gold Records Volume 2.
All right.
And we
Tell
got
Skylark you got that one.
there you go. And we got a 3-tape set of Mersey Dotes 44 wacky hits, which is got great things like it's got Woody Woodpecker.
Wow, that's special.
Yeah, Cement Mixer Putta Putty, Chattanooga Shoeshine Boy, Rag Mop, Ragtime Cowboy Joe, Huggin' and Chalkin', Mule Train. I'm looking over a 4-leaf clover, Abba Dabba Honeymoon, Too Fat Polka. All kinds of silly, goofy things on here. Chicory Chick. Oh, it's got the thing. Oh, the Beer Barrel Polka. So there you go. Yeah, that is what I haggled it down to $6.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. Now you're showing something on the screen right now.
Show topics.
Oh, that's an old, outdated show topic list. I sent that.
No. Am I showing the wrong one?
Oh wait.
No. This is yeah. So Comcast. So you had tweeted about Comcast and what the hell happened?
Oh yeah. Well. Well, we had a little weather here, and
yeah.
Apparently here in Massachusetts, they don't know how to prepare for a little bit of wind and a little bit of rain. But let's...
Oh, boy.
You know what? I told this whole story yesterday. The Comcast thing is basically the line was out, and so all day Saturday I had no internet while Comcast fixed the rich neighborhoods before getting to the poor neighborhoods like ours over here.
That's what happened. That's why you go to the rich neighborhood.
Yeah. So
duh.
That's why I need to save more. But
that's right.
Yet I was sorry to save to my house in the same neighborhood. Yeah. So I don't know. Comcast just was dicking around. Well, what was really frustrating is the internet went out on Friday, but then they fixed it and brought it back up. And then Saturday morning, it's down again. And every time I call them, their automated message gave a time it would be back up. So I call them in the morning and they say, your internet will be back up by 11:30. So at 11:30, I call, your internet will be back up by 5:30. I call back, your internet will be back up by 7:30. I call, your internet will be back up at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. And it's like, why are you fucking lying to me all fucking day long?
They don't know.
And now Neo took issue with my...
Is that Neo or Lulu?
Lulu is Neo.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, right.
So,
yeah, I thought that was funny, the funniest part of it.
Well, yeah. The thing is, though, is I'm not going to dispute Neo too much because she has a way of making people look like an ass, and but
yes, she does.
The thing is that, and I don't want to sound heartless because my heart goes out to people that are suffering, people that are in bad situations, and I realize I do have things very good here, but bad things happen to people all the time, all around the world. That's no reason to let companies off the hook from providing the services that are due to you when you pay them for those services.
And Comcast, to defend your position, Comcast isn't feeding the starving people.
Yeah.
Or providing electricity to people that are out of electricity.
They're not out there.
They have an internet and television service that they're providing, and that is their one job, right?
Right. They have one job. Well, they have, but they're not out there clothing the hungry and feeding the naked. They're out there fixing cable lines.
Yeah, right. And hey, you guys say you have a schedule and you're not following it.
Exactly. Yeah. Now the MBTA I was really pissed off with because the train. Here's the thing I learned today at work. People that really want to know what's going on with their commute, they buy two-way radios and figure out the frequencies to tune in on to listen to the dispatchers talking to the engineers.
Aha.
So I need to get me one of those because that's the only way you can know what's going on. Because I get on the train. Trains were running close to on time by the time I was getting ready to go home on Friday. I mean, there was a tree down on the line earlier, according to the Twitter account, which could mean anything because they lie no matter what.
Now, does the train outfit send out tweets?
Yeah, they do. But the tweets
and
aren't always
fairly accurate, or is it just bullshit?
Some of each depends. This story will
because they need to up their game because
this
Singapore
story...
noticed that other areas were doing better with Twitter, so they found the right guy to hire to do it better.
Well,
and other places do it better.
If I could tell this story will reveal how well they do with this.
Sure.
So, like I said, I was following the Twitter account. There was a tree down on the tracks. Trains were delayed like a half hour to an hour. They got it cleared. Trains were back to being like maybe 15 minutes delayed, which is about average. So I'm like, okay, let me go catch my 4:30 train.
Not so bad for a tree being over the tracks.
Right. Well, I mean, this was over the course of the day. It's not like, 50 minutes late. So, yeah, by the time 4:30 rolled around, they were at normal operating levels, which was, about 10, 15-minute delay. So I go to catch my 4:30 train. It goes through the stops in Boston to load up the train. And as they're approaching the first stop outside of Boston, they said, folks, we got some police activity in Mansfield, so the train's going to be held at some point. So if you want to get off at this next stop, you can do that. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know how else I'm going to get home from this stop, so thank you. And they did at some point use...
They don't give you an alternative. They just say, if you don't like it, you can get the fuck out.
Right. And they said,
see, in Singapore, what they do is they say, oh, okay, so your train is stopped. You can't go anywhere here. You're going to have to get off. But we have a bus for you.
Now, some of the lines...
That's free.
Now, apparently, from following Twitter, the trains that were going north that run closer to the coast, they were having a worse day than I was. Because those lines got flooded out, and so they kicked people out of the trains into the stormy, windy weather and told them a bus would come pick them up. And I guess like about an hour later, some stranger figured out, well, the bus is a half mile down the road. It's not going to come down here to pick us up, so follow me. Which, once again, the theme of this is that the MBTA sucks at communication and telling us any fucking thing that's useful. So, because
it could be worse, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
Because at this point on my trip, the only thing they told us was police activity in Mansfield. And, we don't know how long the train's going to be held. Could be 2 minutes, could be 20 minutes. We don't know. Now, that implies 2 to 20 minutes, even though they said we don't know. It's like they implied a ballpark of a moderate, a medium amount of time. So, okay, I'll take my chances with this because I don't have a plan B if I get out here. So it stops at the next stop, which is Sharon. They reiterate we're going to be held outside of Mansfield due to police activity. If you want to get out here, you can get out here. I don't feel like getting my way home from Sharon. Whatever. So, the train, now mind you, they're calling this police activity. So police activity says to me, someone committed a crime or someone got hit by a train and they're, taking notes, taking pictures, and then things will be on their way. They just need to, find the...
Or there's an active shooter.
Right. Or, they need to take out the shooter, take some pictures, and get the fuck off the tracks and let the trains through again. You figure that that shouldn't be too awful. And if there's an active shooter, maybe they'll just say, let the trains through, please speed up to full speed.
There's a hostage situation going on, and they're negotiating with the hostage taker.
It could be.
In which case, all of the people on the train are yelling, just shoot him, just shoot him, just shoot him.
Full speed ahead. There we go. Problem solved. So the train holds outside of Mansfield for a while. I got my phone. I'm watching my YouTube. At some point, they go, folks, we're going to pull into Mansfield Station, but we're still going to be held there. And we still don't know how long. But if you want to get off the train, you could do it. So we pull in there. Another half hour passes by just sitting at Mansfield Station. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, maybe Kristen can come pick me up. And I'm looking at the storming and the rain and it's dark out and the rush hour traffic and the neighborhood getting to the train station. And I'm like, the last thing I need is for something to happen to Kristen. Whatever. I'm not going to ask her to come here and get me. So I'm like, what about Uber?
Uber. Oh, I saw that tweet about Uber. Yeah,
Well,
what did they do wrong?
Well, we'll get there. So I'm thinking about Uber. I install the app on my phone and sign in again. And an Uber home from there would be about $25. I'm like, $25? Is it worth $25? Maybe. I don't. You know what? With my luck, I ordered the Uber, and just as I hit the button, they're going to say, okay, everything's cleared up and we're moving. This could clear up. But I've waited this long. It could be just almost cleared up for all I know. So next thing I know, they start to make the announcement. And you can tell by the inflection, this ain't going to be good news. Folks, they're going to turn this train around. So everyone needs to get out of the train. And the train behind us is going to pull forward, and you can all get on that train. And because basically, there are folks waiting at these stations that want to get to Boston. And, there's no trains going south to Attleboro. There's no trains coming from Attleboro north to Mansfield. So, at this point, if you start turning around the trains that are stuck, you can at least get folks that are that far on that side back the way they're going. So, everybody was kicked out of the train out into the rainy, stormy night. We're going to pull forward. The next train will be right ahead. It'll be right there. That took a half hour. But before I got there, I got out the train. I'm like, I ain't getting on another fucking... Because I asked him on the way out, when's the next train going? Oh, it's right behind us. It's going to pull right up. Yeah, but when's it going? When will the next train be departing for Attleboro? We don't know. Great. Thanks. And I stormed off the train into the stormy night and started looking around the parking lot for the crossover point to get to the other side of the tracks because that's where the pickup zone is. I found that. I got over there. I pulled out my phone. I brought up Uber, and they wanted $70.
Holy mother!
Yeah! I really should have jumped at that $25. And that's when I bitched out Uber.
I see how that works.
Yeah, I see your... So I was like, the fuck I'm going to do that. So I'm there like fuming, pacing, like, what am I going to do? What the fuck? The train eventually pulls forward.
What about taxis?
I don't know.
What do they charge?
Typically, Uber
the same price.
Basically, you got to wait for the Uber surge to go down is what you got to do. So by the time the next train pulled forward...
Yeah, but what about taxis? Do they have guys at the taxi stand?
I didn't see any taxis ready to go.
Okay.
They're already...
But what rate are
taken.
they? Because sometimes a taxi will be a fixed rate.
I don't know.
You can't... you should look at that.
I don't know. So
They're expensive.
I was pacing...
Yeah, but more than $25?
Yes!
Probably.
More than $80?
Dude,
No.
I had to go from JFK, down to here once.
Yeah, but every
And that-
market is completely different.
So,
And that cost me $70.
anyways, so the next train pulls forward. I walk back over thinking, well, the next train has got a nice, warm, dry interior.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get in there. And I get over there. The doors aren't opening up right away. It's a crowd of people standing around. And at this point, while I'm standing around, I pull up the app, and the surge pricing had dropped down to $28. And I'm like, okay, sold. And I book me an Uber. And the Uber's like 15 minutes out, so I'm waiting for this Uber to show up. I'm putting my hands in my pocket, checking the phone every few minutes to see how close the guy's getting, and eventually I see the cars getting into town, into Mansfield, and I'm watching the car on the map because it shows you through GPS where your Uber driver is at every point, how far out he is, what his plate number is, what his name is, so you can look for him, the make of his car. So before he even gets to the turn for there, my phone rings, which usually the Uber driver rings your phone after they get there if they can't find your intersection or whatever. But he called me sooner than you normally get called. And he's like, yeah, so I'm on Main Street here, and you're nearby, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, I'm at the train station. Oh, yeah, I think there's a train station around here somewhere. I see this big apartment.
So you got a fucking genius, huh?
This is just starting. I see a big apartment complex. I'm like, yeah, I'm on the other side of the apartment complex. Yeah, how do I get to this train station? You know this town? I don't know this town. Oh man, this GPS really sucks, man. I'm like, dude, figure it out. You're the driver. And so finally, he's like, oh, I see a sign here to go for the parking. I'm like, no, the parking lot's on the other side of the tracks. You don't want to go there. Don't go. I'm on the other side of the apartment complex. All right, hey, man, I'll turn into the apartment complex, man. I'm like, oh, no, there's a fence between here and the apartment complex. But, you know.
Fucking idiot.
As we've learned, there's a major flaw to fences and walls, you know, because you could say that there was a border between the train station and the apartment complex, and someone came up with the brilliant idea to put a bunch of money to put a fence up there. And so I walked the length of the fence and found where it ends and just walked right around it. It's a little loophole in border walls, so to speak.
Right.
So,
or if there wasn't a hole there, then you just get your ladder.
Yeah, exactly. You know, or
just happen to have one with you.
We could do a Beanie Loco style and pole vault. You know, there is that.
There you go.
There we go.
There's that.
So, dig a tunnel.
But I basically said to the guy, well, there's a fence. And I'm like, let me walk along the fence here. He's like, hey, man, I think I see you, man. I'm like, yeah, I got the brown hat. And sure enough, this car drives up and is following me as I'm walking along the fence. And wouldn't you know it, Rhode Island plates, of course.
Oh, good.
So I walk the length of the fence. I get around there.
What the hell is he doing there?
We'll get there. So I get in this car, which was the most comfortable car I'd ever been in that day. And
nice.
Because it's like, oh, right, I can feel my fingers again.
With heat.
and so he's like, yeah, man, yeah, glad I found you. You know, yeah, this GPS sucks, man. Man, this town, I do not know this town. I can't. So we're driving along. We're heading south. And the GPS is telling us to take all the back roads because 95 is backed up with rush hour traffic. Because 95 rush hour traffic going home is backed up.
But nice.
It's backed up from Boston to Providence because that's the direction it's all going, from Boston to Providence. That's the commute home. So we're taking the back roads and we're moving along. And I realized I hadn't texted an update to Kristen in a while, so I see that we're 10 minutes out. So I send a text to Kristen, we'll be there in 10 minutes. As soon as I send that text, we come across a police car that's, you know, blocking us from continuing the rest of the way on this road. Because, of course, something's fallen down. So, and then the guy's like, oh, man, do you know these roads, man? I'm like, I don't know. Oh, man, this GPS.
128.
So I had to pull up the Google Maps on my phone and navigate him an alternate route. But I was able to find another route for him. We got around it. And as we're driving, he's like, hey, man, thanks for being so cool. Oh, it turns out that this was his second day Uber driving.
All right.
And what had happened was that he lost power in Rhode Island. And so he figured, well, I can't charge my phone without power, but I could charge my phone in the car. So I may as well drive around, and I may as well get paid to do that. So he was Uber driving simply because he had no power at home.
And he needed
Sounds
to
good to
charge
me.
his phone.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Good, hey, it's a good plan.
I mean, hey, that's one of those things, you can't make that shit up.
No, well, here's what you can't make up. So he's thanking me for being so cool about navigating and helping him out and not being pissed at him for being inadequate as an Uber driver. And he goes, yeah, man, because, last night I picked up this girl at the airport. It took me 18 minutes to find her. And she gets in the car and she's like, oh, your car smells like weed. I'm like, you smell any weed in my car, man? I'm like, no, I don't. Oh, because I do have some weed in the car, but I mean, it's in glass jars, you know. I ain't smoking on the job, man, you know. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, this story gets better and better.
I would have.
And
I did.
The more I thought about this, the more I realized, wait a minute, he didn't just say I have weed. He said I have glass jars containing weed in this car. Multiple jars of weed in the car. And it's like, I think I see where he's trying to make the money.
He's going to sell it.
He's using Uber as a means to pick up new customers to sell weed to.
Dang.
I think he was looking for me to go, what's the going rate? Or, you know, how much of a extra tip do I need to leave you?
Hey, in the old days, you managed a Radio Shack store to build up your customer base.
You're kidding, right?
No, well, I don't know. Say, you know, in Denver, you had to take a polygraph. And this one guy was, let's just say he should have flunked it.
But he didn't.
Because the guy that you know did the test, you know, just kind of went along with what he said. You know, he goes, yeah, I used to smoke a little weed, or oh yeah, I had sold it too, but you know, I don't do that anymore. You know, so he explained it away, so he passed his polygraph, and then he's in. You know, he looked like a clean cut guy, right? And so he managed the store, and then eventually they found out that he was selling weed out of the store.
Oh, nice.
And so they fired him. But, you know, he talked his way into passing.
Well, he wasn't sharing the profits, so I think that was their major problem there.
Yeah, and Radio Shack is interested in the profits.
They are interested in the profits.
There was a guy also that I knew that, you know, did a little telephone repair on the side.
Okay.
And he didn't work for the store, but he met a lot of different managers and stuff, and they would send work to him. Because sometimes it wouldn't just work out at the regular Radio Shack repair place. They needed that outside guy that could go into a business to fix up their telephones. And he also expanded into doing his own long-distance telephone service. And I saw the rig. It was cool. You know, it was like, you know, about the size of a small dorm fridge. And he had at least, you know, 800 number lines from the phone company. And so they would call into his box and get long distance.
Interesting.
That was in the, yeah, it was very cool. Anyway, so the repair business was doing real well. And I think there was a Radio Shack district manager says, look, either you work for us or we're going to cut you off.
Ooh.
You know, become an employee. And he just says, hey, you know what? I don't need this. Bye.
Nice to be able to set the terms like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they didn't call him anymore and he didn't care. So.
Jimmy crack corn and he don't care.
That's right.
Speaking of old-timey minstrel songs.
And he didn't sell weed?
That reminds me of this.
That guy didn't sell weed.
No. I met an interesting fellow at the radio show, though. Because I was buying some records, and this guy, he like, I didn't invite him to come up and start talking to me, but he was behind the table that was selling the records. And he's trying to make conversation. And I don't know if this is just how they are in New Hampshire or if, you know, this is, you know, some distant cousin of Archie. But he starts talking about, I like to collect the Al Jolson impersonators, you know. Not the Al Jolson, the Al Jolson impersonators, you know. You know what I'm talking about with, you know, the makeup on the face, you know. You know, I tell you, I got these friends. They, you know, I have some, you know, the colored friends. You know, they come in on the Obama bus with the big ears and his face on the, you know, I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking about? And at some point he made reference to watermelon, and he used the word colored a lot. And mind you, I did not invite this guy. I was like, this is your opening conversation with people you just met. Uh,
Yeah, okay.
he was from a different time. He was from a. Maybe he was from a different planet. I did not know what to make of this guy.
I didn't know there were Al Jolson impersonators. That's
I don't know, Al Jolson lookalikes or Al Jolson
Right.
cheap knockoff Al Jolsons. I forget the exact verbiage he was talking about.
Right.
I think he was trying to make a joke and he wasn't getting any laughter. So then he started throwing the word colored people in as much as he could, and that wasn't getting any laughter. So
I see.
so then he started talking about the Obama bus and his ugly face with his big ears and the table of watermelon for the colored friends, and he still wasn't getting any laughs.
Jesus.
He's the type of guy you would set out the hood and tell him to yell the N-word real loud and start running.
Remember, you get one free pass. If there's one thing we learned from the Cleveland show, you get one free pass. Go ahead and try it. Oh God, I got to find that. That was such a funny moment of the I think that was the only funny moment on the Cleveland show. I need to see if I can.
There were a few.
Yeah, see, I never watched it. Never just clicked with me, you know. So
well, most
if
of it
there were
did.
funny moments, I missed them.
I just wish I could find that clip of that one moment, you know, because
I was just told that I carry a grudge.
You carry a
I
grudge.
never realized that because I was tweeting about. Well, the whole line comes out. This person was talking about the Trump show being canceled.
Uh-huh.
And I says, well, we can hope for that, but you know, I'm still pissed that they canceled the Star Trek original series.
Well, yeah.
And it says, wow, you carry a grudge. I guess I do.
Well, I just finished watching all of the original series for my first time, and
Nice.
we've now I bought the Blu-ray sets, and as we're getting close to the end of that one, I bought the Blu-ray set for the entire Next Generation, and we've just started watching that last night.
Cool.
So, I found the clip I'm looking for. I believe it's called the N-word
Oh,
rule.
wait. Hold up. I'm beeping. Hello, I'm in New York.
Cleve, Lester, it seems the good people of Harlem are upset by me using that word you call Rilo all the time.
Stop. You know the rule. If he has one black friend, he's allowed one free pass on the N-word.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's true. That is the rule.
So Venison, you're my friend, right? There's a little disclaimer that popped up on the screen that said results may vary.
You're sending me. You're
guess.
sending me two TD. You're sending me two TDK tapes. You rate.
There you go.
You got
Does
one
that mean
free
he gets
pass.
2 passes?
I could.
Jesus.
That yeah, I don't know that works. I'm not.
I didn't even want to know. You know?
I'm not gonna.
It really kills me that. You know, the blacks even use the word. Damn it, don't use the fucking word at all. You know what I'm saying?
Well. Now the thing is,
No. The thing with that is they use the word to desensitize, everybody from it. You guys use it and mean it.
I don't.
That's the difference.
Well, see, I don't use the word because I know it's offensive. You know, I'm a fucking grown up, right?
Well, but fucking could be offensive.
Oh, that's true. Of course, there's that whole thing about the appropriate use of the word fucking. Right, we mentioned that earlier.
I use it every fucking chance I get. That's the appropriate use
Exactly.
of fucking.
Right.
But
And sorry if someone is offended by it, right?
yeah,
If they are, fuck you.
but
Well,
but I mean,
you could go that way.
heck, I remember what was it in Boston Public? They were bringing up the topic of that word, and it's one of those things that's really a complicated topic that is worthwhile engaging in conversation about, but it's tricky to even do that. Because, there was a case where there was a white kid that was friends with a black kid. This is a fictional TV show. I'm not telling any real stories here, but the storyline was that the two of them were close friends, and they would use the variation of the word that ends with GA instead of GER. And but the white kid and the black kid were close friends, and he was cool with his friends, and so he's using the word back and forth. But this other black kid here's the white kid using it, and he got pissed and started getting in his face about it. And the teacher breaks up the fight and is like, what's going on here? And when they start going into it, the teacher's like, well, I think we should have some class discussion about this. And they did have some class discussion about it. And they did start raising the question, well, how come it's okay for black people to use it and not for white people? Because he was meaning it in a friendly context. They were friends. And
especially in rap music.
and the black kid that got pissed off and got in the white kid's face, he kind of made the comment, well, I'm not sure I like anyone using it. So he doesn't like the word period, although he took issue with the white kid using it, didn't take as much issue with it, but he's like, so there are people that are just like, why does anyone need to use it? But then the black principal of the school shut down the class discussion and forbid the teacher from engaging in further class discussion because it was a white teacher. But that it ended up where he assigned them a book to read all about the word, which the title of the book was The Word. And he got in trouble with the principal. He basically said, look, the kids are here in this classroom. I try to shut it down. They still want to talk about this. I'm not going to, you know what? You don't want me to talk about it? Fine. But you go deal with the class. And so the principal actually goes into the classroom and engages with discussion with them about the book. It was interesting. It was an interesting episode. But
of a fictitious TV show.
Well, yeah, but it was probably based on some real feelings and real things that had happened. I don't know if something like that specifically.
So it is a real TV show?
Well, it's a real TV show, but it's fictional stories.
Oh.
No, it's
gotcha.
Boston Public, from the same people that brought you Ally McBeal.
Right.
It was...
Which I never watched.
It was an episode that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of shows how it's a complicated topic that a lot of people could engage in interesting conversation about.
And
but
I thought
even
you were talking about the F word being complicated.
But even engaging in conversation and dialogue about that word can be complicated.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
It's, But yeah, this guy at that table, I'm not sure what his deal was. I just figured he's old and he don't care anymore. Whatever enters
Right, exactly. Right.
Whatever enters his head, he gonna say it. It's like, wow.
Well, I had a job back in the late 70s where we were digitizing maps, so that the data would go into the computer of the map information. And this was utility information. Or in fact, this was a phone company that was in the some of the regions were Little Rock, Arkansas, Dallas, Texas, that area. The customer was Southwest Bell, I think it was, that covered that area. Anyway, so you'd have maps of roads with power telephone lines. You'd have maps with buildings, and then you'd have the wires that went into the buildings. And there was this one room. In fact, it was a black guy that had the project, and there was a word on the room. Well, apparently it was a bathroom, but you didn't have pictures. It was just an outline, and it said colored.
Ooh.
And he was really offended. And I says, hey, you know what? I get it. But it kind of is what it is. Let's not erase the history. And I don't know what else to do about it.
Yeah. No.
It was awkward. It's very awkward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be.
I mean, I'm sure they don't. I'm sure that room isn't labeled that anymore. It's just the old blueprints that they probably got it from.
Well, yeah. I mean, heck, I think a tidbit that's often talked about is that the Pentagon was designed with the possibility to have separate facilities for restrooms. Yeah. I mean,
see, now you could, well, as long as you make them equal, then you could convert them into, like, for transgender.
Well, they just basically have a lot of extra restrooms.
Right.
And I don't even know. All I know is, like, apparently in the plans and the blueprints, it was built so that if they were going to go that way, they could have separate facilities, but it didn't get built that way. But there was enough facilities
the interesting thing
in the plan.
Is that Harry Truman decided to integrate the troops.
Okay.
Right? That happened way back then. So, and the Pentagon was probably built slightly after that, I think. And we could look into it.
I mean, but then again, we're talking about...
why would you do that?
I think
segregation was definitely coming to an end.
Well, but who knows?
Not for a while.
Well, when were the blueprints drawn up, though? I mean,
that is a good question.
By the time it was built, they didn't build it that way, but apparently original plans were accommodating for that possibility.
That's interesting, though. It is interesting.
That's what I've read, and the internet has never lied to me before. But
absolutely, absolutely. Right.
Let me. You know what? Snopes has an article about it, and they say it's true. Let's see. The Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, has been the headquarters of the blah, 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 blah. All did not go smoothly during the construction of the Pentagon, however. Despite the impression created by some post-war Hollywood films that depicted white and black troops fighting side by side during World War II, the U.S. Armed Forces were not desegregated until 1948. 3 years after the end of the war, when President Truman issued executive order calling for equality of treatment. All right, so we covered that. The racial divide that existed...
The first true war that was integrated was the Korean War. Of course, that was just a police action.
The racial divide that existed in wartime America affected the civilian workers who toiled on the Pentagon construction site as well. There were racial tensions among the construction workers. About 40% of the workforce was black. Many of them worked as laborers, but because of wartime manpower shortages, others were given jobs as skilled workers. The prominent role of black workers bred resentment among some whites. The construction cafeterias had separate sections for black and white workers in accordance with the Virginia separation of races law. Out on the construction site, brawls broke out several times between groups of white and black workers. On one occasion, Executive Officer Lieutenant Robert Furman arrived at the scene to find a large group of black and white workers facing off, hurling angry words at each other. They were drawing lines, and I walked between the lines, Furman said. Whether it did any good or not, I don't know. As constructing engineers, Captain Clarence Renshaw learned to his dismay the Virginia segregation laws didn't apply merely to the cafeteria facilities for construction workers. He was expected to make allowances for segregated facilities in the construction of the Pentagon itself. So yeah, at the time that they were building it, it was to be built with segregated facilities. However, according to Vogel, even though the extra bathroom facilities were eventually built, they were never identified as being for purposes of adhering to racial segregation laws. Roosevelt and advisor Harry Hopkins came over to see the building for themselves on Saturday, May 2nd, 1942. The president told Renshaw he was delighted with the progress. Touring the interior, however, Roosevelt and Hopkins were puzzled to find 4 large washrooms on each of the main hallways leading from the outer ring of the building to the inner, according to an account related by historian Constance M. Green in Washington, A History of the Capitol, 1800 to 1950. The president, upon inquiring the reason for such prodigality of lavatory space, was informed that this was to comply with Virginia segregation laws requiring separate facilities. But signs marking colored or white were never painted on the doors, possibly at the insistence of Roosevelt, who had signed the executive order banning discrimination in the federal government the previous summer. A War Department employee used chalk to mark the women's restroom doors on one corridor as white and colored, but the markings were erased after complaints.
Oh, I see. Construction actually started in September of 1941
Hmm.
and completed in 43. See, I didn't think it was. I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
I thought it was done in the 50s.
So there's our history lesson.
There we go. We just learned a shitload.
Yeah. Now, you had a full
Fucking
white sheet.
shitload.
You came with a white sheet.
Yeah.
What other topics did you
Okay,
want to
all right,
discuss?
so-
Because we discussed Comcast. Basically, they had an outage all day they
Oops.
lied about.
Let's try.
And we discussed
sharing it again.
Lulu being bitchy about my being bitchy.
Oh, can I put up something real quick?
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yes, you can.
Okay,
yes,
so
I
in
can.
the area of video game streaming.
I said, can I bring up something real quick?
All right, let's let
Oh,
Venison
sorry,
go.
sorry. Yeah.
Let's-
Sorry.
Yeah, he's been going on to it for like a couple hours now. But, just to give you, a little bit of problems, I want to have one Wednesday, moving day.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
And guess what happens Wednesday?
What happens?
Another nor'easter.
Oh, ho!
Suck, man.
You think you can get? You think you can get an extension on that?
No, he can't get any more time off. The contract for the truck is already in, so he's okay. Coming from Ohio, going to Pennsylvania, be okay once you hit New Jersey. That time he'll be coming over. I presume approximately, say 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. It'll already be snowing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And we're supposed to get we're supposed to get 6 to 12 inches here, and God knows what up north. But it won't start raining. Well, it's going to be raining down here until 3 o'clock when it starts to go snow. And it'll take quite a while to accumulate on the street. So, and we're going to try to be on the road out of here by 4. Okay, but at that northwest corridor, it's going to get bad fast.
Well, you're heading out west, away from this all, though.
Yeah, but you still got to come into it first.
Yeah.
Now
Once
you
get,
gotta load up the truck, right?
Yep.
that's not gonna be fun.
Nope. And now I'm not even fully packed yet.
Packing sucks.
Yes, it does. And I still got to go. I still got to take a bus to the post office tomorrow to cancel my mailing address. So that's going to be loads of fun.
Yeah.
And there might be a slight problem, and I don't know how this is going to work out. The property owner, so to speak, said, okay, when you're ready to go, give me a call, and I'll come down to get the keys and give you the check. Okay. Tried calling him today, must have been out of the office early, so I left some messages, told him to call, even though my phone fucked up, but it seems to be working now, so hopefully it will work when he does call. And get him to be down here Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the snow. Because if he doesn't, we're all fucked.
Oh, if he doesn't, you squat.
If he doesn't, we're all fucked. Because that would be an enormous payment for the truck
Well,
full of my stuff.
well, maybe if your friend takes your stuff and you stay at the house and you catch a Greyhound there once you get your check.
That could be done, I guess.
That would suck.
Actually,
But-
I don't know if he can handle the payment, for it, because if it, as it goes,
Ah, yeah.
it's going to be about $750 round trip for the truck, plus $50 for the storage facility. For it to dump off most of the stuff. I only carry a few things to use in the house. You know,
Oh,
so
you're putting stuff in storage.
we have to.
Oh, I thought he had room.
No, he doesn't have room for like couch, dressers and and boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff.
I see. Is that couch worth paying storage fees on?
Well, I look at it this way: if I finally do, get my disability, blah blah blah, and able to get a nice 2-bedroom apartment for dirt cheap down there, I'm going to need something to sit on.
I'd shoot for a studio, but yeah, I guess so. Well,
Yeah.
best of luck to you. Hopefully he'll get there because I mean he wants to get the squatter
Hopefully,
out of the house.
Both of them.
Yeah.
There.
Let's knock on wood and hope for the best.
Yeah, and then I'll also have to talk him, out of his GPS settings. And, well, it suggests I go down Route 24 to 78. No! No! Take 287 from 80, take 287 all the way down to Bridgewater, get on 22 there. Because if you go 78, you're going to die. Because, you don't want it. You do not want, first of all, you got to get up into 78 into the mountain territory. Then you got to come down. And every road down there to my area is steep.
Wait a minute, where's he coming from?
Ohio.
Oh, so why would he take 80? I mean, yeah, you'd take 70 out to the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and you could pick up 81 to 78. That'll get you into Jersey.
No, you don't want to take 78. 78 in the snow would be dangerous.
I guess so. I didn't think 80 be that much
No,
different.
so 80. Oh yeah, because 80 there's not any kind of like steep roadways that incline down to 45-degree angle.
But where in Ohio is he coming from?
I'm not sure. I think Columbus, somewhere around there.
Well, yeah, because he'd have to head up north to pick up 80. But I guess that would be doable. I mean, I guess he could pick up 71, take that up.
I don't know what that location is it, but seems like 80 would be the best choice for him.
Yeah, that would work. That'd be a little out of the way, but if that's the safer route, then of course, then taking 80 all the way to 287 and then taking that down, that's a little out of the way too.
That's the safest route.
All right. Well, best of luck, and
then let me find out something. Truck's 13 feet 7. Oops. You gotta stay on 28, or rather 22, and go all the way past North Plainfield, and go all the way out to Terrell Road by Scotch Plains. Then go all the way down Terrell Road because that's the only bridge that's an overpass. All the other railroad bridges are less than 13 feet.
Oh, yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
So we have some show topics that are up on Brian's screen. And I'm impressed. You put a whole white sheet together. And we got 7 minutes to cover the rest of it.
Yeah.
So let's... you wanted to talk about video game streaming?
Actually, I think that was the topic from your list.
Oh, okay. You based this off of my old list.
Well, no, that one item.
Okay.
The rest is okay. So the next item is YouTube versus Twitch. So I've listened to Lumish's
Lumi
stuff on Twitch.
Yeah. Lummy. That's right. Lummy. Let's try to say yummy.
Lummy, yummy.
Yummy in the tummy.
Lummy.
It's Lummy.
Right.
Who is out
Also
dog sitting
Dunes.
this week?
And Dunes.
Dunes. Oh, cool.
Yeah. I caught Dune live for a short time. Now, Lummy apparently doesn't do Skype.
No, she runs a very basic show. She's got a headset.
So you get on the chat and you can type away to your heart's content, which kind of sucks because if she doesn't notice you're typing something, then you kind of get ignored. I think she uses some other messaging service.
Well, there's a chat room in the channel.
Yeah, but there was another I was in the chat room, and then there was this other person that must have been on some other messenger.
Huh. I'll have to ask her about that, but I'm not familiar with that.
So, of course, she can talk and video. It's interesting. Sometimes she'll have that little, corner there where she's talking while she's playing the game. And sometimes she doesn't. And kind of like, what the heck? How does that work?
I'm at work, so I've not watched her stream. I'm not familiar with how it goes.
Okay.
But
your work when she's on.
Yeah,
okay.
but her,
that's interesting. And then Dune, he'll have you and him on,
right,
with your Twitter profile.
Yeah.
And like, where the hell does that come from?
Well, he bought a expensive video software package that allows them to do those fancy things where you could feed your Twitter feed into it and do different alternate camera angles. Things. We're not strictly doing the Hangout. He only uses the Hangout.
I was on Twitch. This was on Twitch.
Right, but he also basically we go into a Hangout. He takes my video from. No, we don't even go in the Hangout. He uses a software called vMix, and vMix at the price point he bought it for like $350, and it comes with the ability for someone to video call into the vMix if you give them the link and a passcode to do it. And I do that, but the sound sucks doing it that way. So I go into a Team Talk room, and he gets my sound there, and I join the vMix call for my video, and then through that, he can do whatever he wants with my video I'm feeding into the vMix. And that's where he can do all the alternate angles. He'll go full screen on me, or he'll go with the two side-by-side screens, and he has the different captions. That was, and then he relays his audio-video feed to a server that he could set up to send out to the different video streaming services he uses, such as Twitch and iVlog, and he goes to a bunch of video streaming sites with that, but it's a service that he subscribes to.
So it's the same feed that also does that also go to. He also set up to go to the YouTube Hangout.
I believe so. I believe he also sends that to the Hangout. I'm not entirely sure of what he uses. So many services, I stopped keeping track. I just connected.
Yeah. Okay.
Try to be funny.
I kind of figured it was pretty complicated. But the other thing that was really funny is that, like the day before, I went into one of his, shall we say, older posted videos on Twitch, and there was a pop-up in the middle of the screen that says, "This is copyrighted content. You will not hear audio." Yet I was hearing the audio.
Oh, that's lovely.
Don't you love that?
That feature works so well.
I think they blocked the wrong fucking thing. They blocked the video rather
They blocked
than
the
audio.
video. Well, it could have been copyrighted video if we were screen sharing.
Well, I think they were blocking it for the music.
Oh, okay. Well, some people see music.
I guess.
I don't know. So
and
you're
then,
taking
of course,
notes.
he has that fancy psychedelic graphic stuff with his music.
Oh yeah, when he does the 5-hit show. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
Actually, I think that was the 5-hit show that I was watching.
Yeah, and we've done some co-hosts at 5-hit shows, which are fun when we take turns playing music, which is why we started the Team Talk room so that I could stream decent audio to him.
Right. And of course, the picture-in-picture part is really cool. That would be kind of fun. Can you do that in Twitch? Can you?
Well, in
fact, when you do it on this channel, you can control it as the host, correct?
I can control, but I can't do picture-in-picture. I could switch back and forth, or I could let it automatically do its thing based on sound.
Yeah, but you would put up a picture and slide that up into the thing.
Well, that is cheap software, a free software I have that lets me do picture-in-picture stuff with the video gaming stuff. Now, I could do picture-in-picture with our cameras if I capture your camera on my screen, which is a completely inefficient and resource-heavy thing to do. Really, the only way to easily share video is to let Hangout do it and switch our angles back and forth, or to get the vMix software that Dune got at the like $350 version that lets one person be able to connect in to my feed and get fancy that way. But I don't want to put that much money into video editing software.
Sure.
There's a Team Talk one?
Right, and it's always a challenge to figure out, okay, which one should I buy, right?
One of the other stations that Dune's on has a Team Talk server that we put a channel in. But yeah, it's all complicated stuff, and it's not that I'm not interested into it. I've just always been about doing things on the cheap. It's part of my shtick too.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig that.
Dune's not into doing things on the cheap. Hence the touchless trash cans that he has all around the house.
Is that a message?
Oh yeah, right. Oh, yeah. There's a ice cream shop in Pacific Grove that has all these touchless trash cans. I guess because you don't want to touch a trash can when you're eating ice cream.
No, who does? Or when you're eating.
Oh, also, real quick. Gators.
Yeah?
I sent you 2 more pictures.
You sent me pictures. Where?
Skype upload.
Okay, I gotta find them. New photos received. Okay. Where do I go to see them?
The picture of the second half of the lab, and the mini communication center in my room.
I can't get it to show. Oh, here we go. Have I clicked? Oh, I see them. Yes. Oh wow, we got an old picture of the lab. Let me screen share this.
And that big gray radio, in the center of the second one. Now that's a classic radio.
Ooh.
An R390A.
That's more than just a radio. That's a piece of equipment.
What do you call a boat anchor?
And who makes that or made it?
Collins made it.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
It was one of the most awesome radios around, and that's a full set. Very, very rare. Full set meaning, I'm not going to tell you exactly why it's called the full set, because supposedly there are things illegal on it.
Oh.
So what does this do? Multiple bands?
Yes. It basically
so
does
like a ham radio deal or what?
Well, listen. It does from 500 kilohertz all the way up to 32 megahertz. Continuous.
So I don't know the numbers that well. Is that like shortwave and?
Yeah, AM radio to all the way through shortwave.
So like the ham radio operators would be on that as well?
Yes.
So when you say full set, does that mean including a transmitter?
No, not. It's just a receiver. When I mean full set, I mean full features.
Yeah. Okay.
And we see that you got a lovely fax machine in this other picture that we're looking at.
Yep.
Sweet. Do you still use that?
No, I never did. Never had anybody to fax. I just put it up there because it had a phone.
Because that's a convenient phone to use.
Yep.
Looks like a short cord. Is that right?
No, it was long enough so I could lean over in the bed and pick it up and talk in the bed.
Oh, okay.
And I love the curtains.
Oh, they were great.
Oh, those are
and there's all and underneath computer monitor there was another ham radio, full shortwave transmitter and receiver.
Now,
nice.
Are you a ham radio operator?
Yes, I am. General class license.
Nice. Yeah, my dad is. Although he hasn't been on the air in a long time. I think he's got a 10 meter. Basically a handheld unit.
And I got echo.
He has to hit repeaters to get any distance, right?
Yeah. There are repeaters up there.
Now,
But even 10 meters with a handheld, you still go interstate and occasionally out of country.
now, this picture, I guess this is your bedroom. Is this the wall that you hit the mark on?
Yeah, to the very left of the curtains,
Very left.
above the bedpost. But you can't really see it.
The mark's not on. So in relation to the speaker, where would the mark be?
Way to the left. You
Wait,
can't see it.
but
Yeah,
would it be?
when you say mark, do you actually mean bullet hole?
That- so to speak. He went for distance and he made the mark.
With a javelin.
Yeah.
Many marks.
Well, good thing he wasn't
Floyd-
using a bump stock,
You-
right?
You know, some of us use socks because we like cleanliness. And on that note, I think it's time to put this show to bed and be thankful that
Yeah, but socks take a little bit extra effort and take away some of the
we
feeling.
just gotta do a load of laundry every now and then.
Once a week.
Yeah,
is all
so the
we
cat
ask,
don't bring it
right?
out.
On that note, thank you everyone for listening. This has been something. This has been.
And we learned about the Pentagon.
We did, yes. Brian, what have you learned here tonight
Totally
on
about
this?
the Pentagon.
You totally
Yes.
learned about the Pentagon on
Yes.
tonight's episode of
Insert
And
title
bathrooms in
here.
the Pentagon.
Bathrooms in the Pentagon. What about bathrooms in the Pentagon?
You know what?
That they have a
at
lot of
Tharco,
them.
we had this woman that worked, kind of in the. She was doing archiving and Unix support kind of stuff,
Okay.
and she was a civil engineer. And the way she put it, she would point out all of the public buildings in the Oakland area where you don't want to use the bathrooms because she worked on them.
Oh, nice. All right.
She was a character.
Well, what about you, Venison? What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that trying to buy your own house is going to cost you a lot of money.
Hey, he's
Wow.
already freaked out. You don't need to freak him out anymore.
Well, no, I'm actually. Here's the thing: is now that I'm sitting here and I'm calm, I'm like, did I make a mistake? Should I not have backed out on this? Could this have all been packed into the mortgage? Could I have talked to John and worked out how? But I already sent an email to the landlord saying, yeah, I backed out of this because I wanted to right away make sure that I'm not, that I have a place come May 1st. And it's like, no.
Yeah, but you haven't. At this point, you haven't made a commitment either way, right?
I told the
Sit
landlord
down
I'm
with the
staying.
finance guy. That's the next step, right?
I'm not. No, you know what? I need more cash. I need more. Here's a
Needs
big.
more money. Leave it at that.
Here's a big telling. Here's a big telling sign here. I have not called my dad and talked to him about this
Okay.
because I'm worried about his judgment on the way I'm doing this. Which kind of says to me, if I'm hiding things from my dad instead of asking him for advice, I'm probably doing something wrong.
Well, it's not like you're going to ask your dad for money.
No, but
I made that mistake once.
I'm not asking for money.
And the answer that I got basically says, I am never asking that guy for money ever again.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked
Such
my
a
dad for
fucking
money
prick.
once. I asked my dad for money once. We could have been rich off of it. But he said no.
You have a complicated relationship with your dad, it sounds like, Brian.
Well, I kept it simple by just saying, hey, you know what? That's the answer. It's no. Period. I'm done.
Really?
But
$2,500. That's all I needed. $2,500. I would have walked away with $230,000.
Well, they're saying no, and they're saying.
Sorry, Venison. So,
Oh,
you
don't.
were looking for $2,500?
Yeah.
So
all I
you
needed.
had a deal with a Nigerian prince.
No. Stockbroker. I could have walked away with $238,000.
Because you had the inside track on a deal.
Yes.
Which means you were willing to go to jail for that.
No.
You're not going to be sharing a song with Martha Stewart.
I didn't have an inside track for anyone in the market. But I knew what Qualcomm was doing. I knew what they were doing.
And it was still early.
And yes, it was so early, and I picked them. And also, I knew that that with the Y2K thing going, that shit was going to get fixed, so nothing would have happened. But everybody else panicked because of it.
Alexa, shut up!
And so, what happened? Qualcomm was the #1 stock on the entire stock market. A 1,500% increase. And I couldn't get anybody to come with me on it.
You got the turkey?
And on that note, with Venison's finance lesson here,
Find people with money who is willing to give it to you.
if you have $2,500 to send to Venison, please be
Right
sure
now.
to write in next week for another fun-filled edition of
Insert title here.
But
also I forgot. One other thing that I learned.
yeah,
Is really, man. If you hear there's going to be a nor'easter, stay home.
that was not an option. My supervisor is on vacation. We are short-handed. Not to mention, one of our coworkers was stranded in Ohio. So, if I didn't go,
He's going to pick up a truck for venison.
no, we have an office out there that was moving locations, and he went out there to help move, and then his flight home on Friday got canceled, and he was stuck there until Sunday. We were short-handed Friday.
Were you going to go in during the hurricane? During Sandy?
It depends, but they needed me in. I made it in. I made it home eventually, and I had an opportunity to buy weed, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity. I didn't buy any, but anyways, on that
I've
note,
been trying to find weed for the last 5 years. I can't find shit.
Don't forget your penis cream.
anyways, thank you everyone for listening. Be sure to check out energyradio.com for all your internet radio needs. Tune in to Vamp tomorrow, and good night.
Why doesn't anybody sell weed anymore? It's all coke. I need weed. Sell me some weed. It's almost legal here.
Okay, so